Hey guys, this is Doctor McFarland, and we're going to ring in the new year with some awesome tones from HeadRush. And we're going to do a little best of series here of picking my favorite amps, my favorite effects, and just having some fun. So, y'all guys, come on in, grab your HeadRush, whichever version you have, whether that's the pedal board, the gig board, which I have here in front of me, or the MX5. So, I have my trusty Les Paul traditional in Honeyburst, and it is a beauty. And look at that ripple. Let me just look at it. It's very, very pretty. Um, I'm doing a little Rode setup tonight, so I got my Rode boom arm here. I can move up and down. This is a Rode pod mic, and I finally quasi have my rack set up over here, which I will do a full on review or overview of my rack setup once I totally get it done. But I am going through my RME interface tonight instead of my Focusrite, and through many trials and errors, I just like the RME. It has some built-in EQ and compression, which is really nice, and I have a expander gate on my voice. So when I'm playing, you shouldn't hear my guitar over my voice and vice versa. So I am slightly getting over some. I don't know what I had over the weekend, over the last few days, just kind of funk. So my voice is extra low, if you can tell, which is fine. So y'all, like I said, y'all come on in. Uh, I don't know who you are unless you make a comment. So definitely leave your comments. I have the chat box open here, and this is a kind of fun setup. I have my big. What is this? This is a 50-inch TV over, like, really big in front of me, and then I have a little 27-inch computer monitor here below the 50-inch TV. So I'm able to see a preview of what you're seeing and seeing the chats come in and all that different stuff. So the HeadRush is using the headphone out into two inputs on the RME, and I am going in stereo. I have these panned in stereo. So whatever delays, reverbs I have going on, you're going to hear that full stereo sound. Andrew Collins, I did the Helix comparison last week, and that was for a Taco Tuesday Q&A. But this is going to be a HeadRush specific live stream, because I do at least one HeadRush live stream a month, and that is all about um, my HeadRush tone sculpting course on my website, where every rig that I build, you just pay a one-time $20 fee, and you can download all the rigs from the past, present, and future for a one-time cost. So what that allows you to do, and it allows me to do, is kind of a little bit of freedom of, let's just do one live stream a month, have some fun, build some rigs, kind of share some knowledge I have about just guitar setups in general, but more specifically how you apply those concepts to a HeadRush unit. Um, I just dropped a pick, but any concept that I talk about on the channel, and it really doesn't matter what device I'm using, whether that's a HeadRush or a Helix or a Fractal or a Kemper or a Quad Cortex. Um, Guitar rigs are guitar rigs, and there's a handful of basics that you just need to learn and apply. And once you do that, you can harness the sound of any device that you want. So it doesn't matter if it's a HeadRush or a Helix. I don't really care. I can get good tones pretty much out of anything. So, but that's not a good tone, because that's just a guitar straight into a blank rig right here. So let's go ahead and go over to the head and camera view, which is a scene in Ecamm Live. And what we're going to do is let's go ahead and pull in the amp. And I haven't done a lot of these rigs yet for the Ingl Powerball. Let's go ahead and bring in a 4x12 cab. Let's do a classic 30. And I'm kind of at a weird angle here where the light is hitting the screen, kind of odd, but you can actually see it pretty good on your screen here. So and I can hear myself through my microphone, which I feel like is I feel like I'm just a little hot. So I'm going to pull down the volume of my headphones. So I don't feel like I'm as hot in my head. But you can see we have a clean channel pulled up here. We can have the bottom on or off, which is giving extra beef to the low end. We can also do a bright switch on and off. And we have a standard bass middle treble. Excuse me. I should have got some water or something. But we do have a mid boost option and some presence, master, depth punch, all kinds of crazy parameters on this amp. And for the really high gainy type stuff, you can also add in its own gate into the signal path, if that's what you feel like you want to do. So let's put this on the middle position so we have a good bridge and neck sound. All right, that is a decent, very, very decent. I don't want to move this too much, but it is this light angle is kind of glaring on the screen, so I can't really see exactly what uh, I should be seeing. But maybe I can just use my finger. It's like I can see what my finger's doing here. Okay. I'm gonna bring in an 11 verb, and HeadRush has three basic reverbs. We have a standard spring reverb. We have an air verb, which is a Pro Tools esque type verb, and then we have the 11 verb, which is from the 11 rack. Now, all these reverbs and algorithms have been updated. So when people think 11 rack, it's like, oh, that dinosaur piece of gear that came out like, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, however long it's been. It's been a while. And, but since HeadRush and 11 Rack was owned by Avid, which is a Pro Tools. They also own Pro Tools or make Pro Tools. You'll notice a lot of the names are carried over from that Pro Tools, you know, naming scheme. But don't let the names fool you. The effects sound really good. So, man, I gotta get some water. Um, let's just do a chamber. Wow. Okay, now it may not be for everybody, but it's a pretty decent tone. Man, we can bring up the time, but then I like to also bring down the mix, so we kind of sneak it in. I like to have the size 100% as well, And the tail's always on. Yeah, that's a nice sound. You never thought the Ingl Powerball sounded so pretty, did you? Cool. So if you're watching right now, be sure to share the stream. I'm sure you're either at parties or you're doing tons of other stuff other than watching some bald guy on YouTube talking about HeadRush stuff. But I really do. I think it'll be fun. I mean, that's a nice reverb. Now, so far, the HeadRush um, doesn't have tons of like really atmospheric type reverbs, not like the Helix does. But I'm gonna do a dying delay. Let's do a dying. I'm gonna hit dying stereo. Wow. Now you should be hearing that go back and forth. Okay, might be a little over the top, so we're gonna go mix down just a touch. Check, check, 1, 2. All right, so I think I'm gonna bring up the HeadRush just a little bit. Let me know how the overall uh, volume balance is between my voice and my guitar. Sounds pretty good. Now it's very interesting. There's tons of parameters here to play with. Um, you can mess with the high cut, which will darken the sound of a digital delay to be a lot warmer sounding. Warmer sounding. Okay. We can also mess with the low cut to take out some of the bass and thin it out a little bit. That's right, Bill. We got some guys coming in here. Okay, that sounds good. My verdict. See, we got a question here. So my verdict on the new Helix, which there is a disclaimer there. I mean, I've owned Line 6 products for a very long time, starting with the green DL4 delay pedal back in the early 2000s. Then I moved my way up through the M series, which is the M5, M9, and M13. And then when the HX Effects came out, that basically replaced my whole analog pedal board. And then shortly after, the HeadRush came out, which I really I like the look of that because the HeadRush had the touch screen and a bunch of other stuff. So it's not like, I'm a Helix guy or I'm a HeadRush guy. I just like really good sounding effects. Um, but I do feel like the amps in the HeadRush have a more organic quality to them. But yes, obviously the Helix or Line 6 products, they just give you tons and tons and tons of options and variations on overdrives and different delays and reverbs. Modulations are pretty on par for both units. Because you can't, I mean, how can you mess up a tremolo, really? I mean, and a chorus and stuff like that, flange, phase. I don't really use tons of modulation effects. Tremolo is the one I use about 99% of the time, just to give a little movement. But really, between the delays and reverbs, I mean, Line 6 just is not as organic as HeadRush to me. And that's really across the board as far as like reverbs and delays and stuff. I mean, yeah, the reverbs on the Helix sound really good, and they're more atmospheric and more ambient sounding and have more crystals and more, shimmery type stuff. Um, but I just don't think it sounds as organic as a HeadRush. So, I mean, this sounds really good in my ears. That sounds good. Now, to add to that, let me get rid of this comment here. How do I do that? Bam. We can add a reso delay, which is something new in 2.5 that just came out. So if I'm in the key of G, which I am, this is actually kind of cool. So check this out. So it's going to take the note of whatever you play in that key, and it's going to do what it says. It's going to resonate that note. So okay, we can choose to bring the mix of that down a little bit. And we can also change the trigger sensitivity. Anytime you see an attack parameter, that's going to tell the effect to, how long or how basically how quick the effect is going to come in after you pluck your string. So if you have a really slow attack, like 1,000 milliseconds, which is basically 1 second. Maybe if we bring up the mix a little bit so you can hear it. You hear that resonance come in a little bit. All right, so something I'm interested in and I haven't done yet, but you can do this with other uh, the harmony effect. Is if you go to hardware assign in this reso delay, okay, it doesn't have it. Um, I was thinking and I was hoping that you could actually assign the key to a switch, and then when you hold that switch, you can just pluck a note, and then the key will change, because That's how this one works. Let me show you the delay, and then we have the sorry, maybe it's under modulation. Smart harmony. Okay. So default. So you have a learn option here, and we can actually assign that to a switch. So let's go here and let's go to smart harm learn. So now the smart harm learn is assigned to that switch. So if I hold down the learn button and play the A string, okay, if we look at it, it is an A. If I do it again and play D, see how the key changed to the key of D? Man, I was fine all day. And then I start talking and let's see. I'm going to make voice one. Let's make it an octave up. 1 octave. And then voice two will be a third. We are in a major scale, so watch this. If I go, so we have the third there. Now, what's interesting about that third is it's not necessarily a diatonic third, which means if you play the root of the key, this could be a major third. But if you play the two of the key, which is an E in this case, it should be playing a G, right? Um, which maybe it is playing the diatonic thirds based on the natural number system, but whatever it is. So I'm not going to mess with the smart harmony for now. But I was just showing you that because I was thinking that the reso delay might be cool to add that learn function, so you can change keys depending on what chord you're playing. Because if I play an A right now, I mean, I guess it is resonating on the A. I don't know. I have to mess with it a little bit more. I'll mess with it more. One more thing here for the. I like the pitch delay. And we can actually go in and tell it, I want this to be 12 semitones up. And we'll bring the mix of it down a little bit. And Aaron Short is in the house, causing all kinds of trouble, I'm sure. I'm just kidding. Happy New Year, everybody. We are blessed and thankful to live another day, each and every day that we have. And I know it's been a hard few years for a lot of people dealing with sickness and health and jobs and money and just all kinds of stuff. So, um, never take any day for granted. And Bachelor 101 has to go. But thanks for stopping in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Okay. Um, yeah, we just can't take anything for granted. So, always be glad that you're able to do what you're currently doing, if you are able to do anything. Uh, Hopefully, you can do that for a very long time. That makes sense. So you can hear just a little glimpse of octave in there. Andrew Collins, he's a big Helix fan, which I'm okay with. I play both units that HeadRush is lacking a lot of different effects. Well, yeah, this it's fine. The Helix has more processing power. Well, that depends on how you look at it. Essentially, the HeadRush is a 4-core processor. Apparently, like the quad cortex, right? This is a 4-core processor in the Helix. I mean, sorry, in the HeadRush, and let's think of it this way: the Helix, you essentially have two different lines you can add effects to, or maybe four, but um, if you only use one line, then that's all the processing power you can really have. And for instance, I have a video coming out, or maybe it's already been out, that you can now have spillover between presets. Well, the only way to do that is they have to allocate one of the cores to just the spillover type stuff. So that means that your big, 2 or 3 line rig or preset that you've made with all this fancy stuff now has to be truncated down to one line just to use the spillover. But the HeadRush does not have that problem. So I think the HeadRush is just as powerful, if not more powerful. I'm going to call this Ing CL. Okay. And we're going to really ramp up the mix of this stuff here. So dyne delay, let's really ramp this up. Actually, let's do this. Let's save this as a new rig. I don't know what I'm saying here. So let's do this. Let's do this one really ramped up. How about that? And air reverb, we're going to crank up the mix on this sucker just for an extreme example of what can happen here. So, okay, let's keep it within, let's bring the feedback up a little bit, but let's keep the mix around the 40 to 50 so we can still hear our dry signal pretty good. We'll turn the feedback up though, because it's really the feedback that you want a lot of. It's not necessarily the mix. So, okay, so hear all that stuff ringing out, right? I'm going to go to my rig view so I can see both rigs here on the bottom, which you can see that as well, so that's good. So check this out. Okay, let's turn all this off and just have a little bit of mix for my reverb. And I'm going to go over to my other rig, and I'm going to make it a totally different reverb, just to accentuate the point here. I'm going to turn up the time really far, keep the mix down a little bit. All right, check this out. Make sure I save it. All right, so there's my long reverb tails. So check that out. All of it just keeps going. So Andrew Collins is yeah, the spillover only refers to reverb and delay because the tail of the effect keeps going. Now phase and tremolo stuff like dirt pedals, those don't have tails built into the effect because they don't keep ringing out like delay and reverb do. So the only way so far um, to get snapshots, sorry, to get spillover between sounds in the Helix was to use snapshots, because then you're not reinstantiating different blocks between presets. You're keeping the same block in there, but you're just bypassing. You're either bypassing the effect on or off, which you can get spillover that way. And because of that, I like to have two different reverbs or two different delays. So I have my main reverb, which is always on, then my more ambient reverb that's longer and has more mix. So that way, when you bypass it, the sound keeps going, and you still just hear your main reverb that's always on. Same with delays or whatever else. So um, let's see what I don't know, pastel. I think that HeadRush focuses on practically to build a rig. It's not for hard tweakers, and it doesn't have to be for sure. Definitely doesn't have to be. I know with the Helix amps, you have stuff like bias and ripple and hum and like just all this other stuff. I feel like the HeadRush just has a nice overall sound to it. Okay. Um, Now let's calm down. Let's calm down the verb here a little bit. Bring the mix of that down. And most of the time, I like having my pitch before my delay and reverb, so that way the delay and anything that comes after the pitch kind of washes it out a little bit. You can still hear it, but I just not as prominent in the mix. Let's actually detune it down a little bit, so it kind of gives this weird like warble. Now, if you can't make some cool music with that sound, I can't help you. I really can't. All right, let's go on to. I really like this save new rig thing. You're basically doing a save as. So what the concept is, just build a basic rig, then keep saving as to make a new rig, but you're carrying on from where you left off before. So Ingl, this is going to be a dirt. So let's take out the reso delay, take out the pitch. We'll leave in the dyne delay, which is fine. We'll bring the mix of that down pretty low though, and we'll also keep the feedback down pretty low. And that sounds fine. All right, we're gonna switch the amp over from a clean, and we're gonna go to the crunch channel on this. Let's go ahead and bring the gain down all the way just to see what our starting point is, and then we can bring it up from there. So let's go to the bridge pickup. Now, when I got this guitar, the guy had this toggle switch upside down. So it should say treble over here, then rhythm over here. But he had it backwards. So I haven't changed it yet, and I'm kind of getting used to it. So if you see my toggle switch up, don't think it's a neck pickup. It's actually the bridge pickup. So okay, so with the gain all the way down, we don't get any volume out of it. Let's go to around 15%. And the reason why I'm starting kind of the low end is even on a really high gain amplifier, the more gain you have, you run the risk of just introducing more noise into the signal path, and you really don't get a lot of benefit from just having turn the gain knob all the way up to 10. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So start with the gain kind of if you're talking from like 1 to 10 on the actual amp dial, maybe start between 2 and 3 and then see how that feels to you. And if you need to bring it up, like maybe bring it up to 4, maybe halfway to 5. But anything past that, I mean, you're going to start getting diminishing returns really fast. So, okay, now we're not living in the 80s, so I don't need near as much reverb. Okay, let's go to our stomp view. And how I did that was I just held down foot switch 1 on the gig board, and that gets me into my different views. So I'm actually going to go to the dot 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 hardware sign, and on my far right switch, I'm going to put on a tap tempo. So that way I can, excuse me, I can, okay, sounds pretty good. But let's bring down the ratio. And what this parameter does is it takes whatever your subdivision is, and it basically modifies what that subdivision is. So if it's core note, 50% ratio is actually making it an eighth note or something like that. So you can thank Pro Tools for that effect. So this just comes from the avid Pro Tools world of the dying delay. Um, let's see. This guy says I ran my MX5 through a Kali LP8 monitors earlier today, and sounded phenomenal. Can't get anywhere near that good of sound through my FR108s. I am not familiar with the Kali LP8 monitors, but I'm assuming it's a floor monitor of some sort. I'm gonna look it up real fast. Let's see, Kali. Let's see here. Kali LP8. Looks like it's a studio monitor, which is fine. They are on Sweetwater. They are on Sweetwater. So most of the time when I dial in sounds, I'm either using headphones or my studio monitors, which I have the RCF sixes here in front of me. And I don't really play out hardly ever, whether unless I'm playing at church. But even then, um, I have headphones on or in ears of some sort. So I have a FR108, but I rarely use it just because I don't really need it for what I do. So I'm not saying it's a bad speaker; it's a great speaker, but it does have its own sound for sure. Where did my comments go? Uh oh. What did I do? I need to do this. Let's go back here. Scene. Where's my comments? Overlays. Overlays. Oh no. Next overlay. Well, there's that. Sorry, I'm getting off track here because I can't find my comment window anymore. Aaron Short's going like, dude, come on, man. Learn your software, will you? Well, I'm getting there. I am getting there. Search comments. You would think it'd be under like view or something, but oh, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Overlays, preference, sound effects. No. Camera switches. All right. We're gonna mess with that a little bit later. If you make a comment, go ahead and leave a comment, and I'll figure out how to show it again. Now, to me, that sounds pretty decent as far as a crutch sound goes. Let's see what happens if we bring this up to 25%. Okay, we're going to get a little more girth, but... raise of hands, who likes that sound? Because I do. I think it sounds pretty good. I could use that. Let's go to some distortion. And we've added a lot of good effects this year for the HeadRush. So we started off with the white boost, green GRC, DC distort, black op, tri-fuzz, and 8-bit crush. And throughout the years, we have added the LCD, which is a full tone, anxiety overdrive. There's two different versions of that for some reason. We have a D1 distortion, which is the Boss DS1, a round fuzz, which is a fuzz face, K drive, which is the Klon drive, MX distortion, which is the MXR distortion plus or something, the D250, which is the DoD 250 drive, the S1 drive, which is a Boss S1, an Octafuzz, which is just like like an analog man, octave fuzz kind of thing. Then we have a B distortion 7000, which is a bass pedal type distortion. So let's see what the 250 sounds like, and going into this overdriven amp. Yeah, it's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I usually hear output. I need to go to not preferences. It should be under. It's not scene. It's not source. It's not camera. Mic. Overlays. I'm just baffled why my comments went away. Where did my comments go? Window. Maybe it's under window. Comments and reactions. Bam, there we are. So the 108 sounded bassy to me. Yeah, so the thing about the 108 is it's really all about perspective on where it is in relation to the room and how far away you are from it. If it's close to a corner or of a wall, it's going to project or it's going to accentuate the bassiness of all that because basically you're resonating something on the floor and that's going to add a lot more bass to it. So you'll see a lot of people either put the 108 on a stand or maybe they even just stand it up instead of laying it on its side, and that can help reduce some bass sound. But really, the 108 sounds pretty good. I have a QSC K12 speaker over here. Maybe it's a K8. I'm not sure what it is, but um, they do sound drastically different, but they both sound good. Let's see. Tone through the Yeah, so this is going to be true for pretty much any studio monitor. Um, they are not an FR speaker, but they do have a full range response. Most of them go all the way down to 20 hertz and go up to like 20K, which is 20,000 kilohertz. Um, so if you like listening to music on studio monitors, then just dial in your HeadRush tones on studio monitors or headphones, and it should sound pretty good. So, but I have used the 108 Live, and they sound fine to me. So, and really, if you're playing live, I mean, not to knock any HeadRush speakers or anything, but I just send my full signal to front of house and then have the sound guy pipe back my sound through a floor wedge. I think it's the best thing to do. Now the alto speaker has a an actual preamp in it, so you can plug in a microphone. And the HeadRush speakers are only line level input, so you can't plug a mic into it. So that's really the main difference of that. So now this 250, we're kind of pushing a little bit of gain there. Let me take that out actually. Let's do a distortion. Let's just do a tube screamer. And it's got to be green. I swear I always save that as I want it to be green, the drive down, and the level all the way up, and the tone at 50%, and it never saves it for some reason. I'll report it one of these days. So. All right, that sounds good. That sounds good with the crunch. At the gain about 25%. We can't take the bottom off of it here. It might be subtle. You might not hear it as much, but same with the mid boost and the depth punch. Yeah. I feel good about that one. Let's do save new rig. Ing lead. And we're going to change the amp over to, we have a low lead and a high lead. Let's see what the low lead starts off with here. That sounds good. Let's go to the cab. This is a Dyne 7, so this is a SM7B microphone. Let's put it on axis. Okay, that drastically changed it. Let's stay with that. I'm fine with that one. Let's go to the high lead channel and see what that sounds like with the same gain structure. All right. Now, even though this is my lead rig, I'm going to have an option here. So I'm going to bring in another amp, which you can't always do on the Helix, not unless you use a secondary line to add another core. And it depends on what amp it is, but also what other effects you have. But you can't always do this. So we're going to save that. Go to ... hardware sign. And under here, let's go amp 2. And we're going to toggle this to be a scene. And this first one we're going to call clean. Okay. We're going to edit. And amp 2 is our clean channel. So the amp 1 is going to be off. Everything else is going to have no change assigned to it, which means literally what it says. Even if you change to a different scene, if you have it on, it's going to stay on. If you have it off, it's going to stay off. So every unit, Fractal, Helix, HeadRush, Kemper, Quad Cortex, they all do this slightly differently. But how you create a scene on a HeadRush product is click ... and then make a switch, go from toggle to scene. Then you just either choose on or off or no change. So there's 3 different options. You can do on, off, or no change. You can also change a preset within each block per scene. So if you wanted to go from you can't change device types, but you can change device presets. So which is why if you find a sound that you like, you want to store that as a preset first, and then you can go into your scenes and recall those presets per block, whatever you want. Now, I don't suggest doing that for reverbs and delays because you will cut off. There won't be a smooth transition. They will be cut off if you go from like a short delay to a long delay and back to a short. That long delay will be cut off to move back to the short delay. So I don't prefer doing that. And if you are going to switch between delays and reverbs between scenes, I like to have 2 different verbs and 2 different delays, so I make sure I have that smooth transition. And same with amps. If you reinstantiate an amp within the same block, but with 2 different presets, you're going to hear a slight gap between those 2 amps. So I like having 2 different amps, which will always sound smoother versus not. So 2.5 update, they've made it to where you can have 2 scenes per switch. So I'm on scene 1 right now. I'm going to hit the plus symbol. And then I'm going to transition over to that other one. I'm going to make this one red just to know we're on a different sound. And when I did that, anything that was off is now on, and anything that was on was now off. And everything else that was set to no change is still set to no change. So I automatically turned off my clean amp and turned on my dirty amp. So which is really nice. I'm actually gonna name this something different. Let's name this amp. Okay. So we're gonna go from the green amp, which is clean, to my red amp, which is overdriven. Okay, so here's the clean, like this. Andrew, I know you're a big Helix fan. Check this out. Click on the tab, on the cab, hit 2X. Now I got two cabs. Click on the head, 2X. Now you got two heads. So I know Helix is great. It's so cool. The HeadRush does a lot of stuff too. So not saying one's better or worse. It's just what you think is really the killer of like the HeadRush. It's like, well, HeadRush can do that too. So that sounds really good. Now, one thing the HeadRush doesn't do with the 2X cab and head is you can't really change the stereo width or the placement of how wide those sound in the stereo field. But you can go to your output and you can change the rig width. If you don't want it to be 100%, you can make it mono just by having the rig width be 0 or anywhere in between that area there. So, the more I learn about the Quad Cortex and the Fractal AX8, and eventually I am on the list to get an FM9 from Fractal. I mean, I really shouldn't be spending the money, but if I have a chance to get one in my hands and really learn it, I think it'd be a cool unit to learn. But um, that doesn't mean the HeadRush is not more than capable of, getting you through a gig and actually sounding really great. So, Jason Roller, he and his compadre in the band Alabama both use HeadRush on tour every time they play, and they have no complaints. So I know it's been said that there's way more Helix guys using things, their units on tour, which is not fine. We're not trying to measure each other's, you know what I mean. It doesn't matter. You can say the same thing about Fractal. I mean, Fractal users, tons and tons of Fractal users using them on live. The XFX3s. um, Now the FM9s are really popular to use live. But you've seen Kemper guys use them for years and in the studio. So yes, there's tons of Helix users out there using them live, but there's just as many other people using other units other than Helix for live stuff. So for the cabs, right now we have an on and off axis. So that's pretty similar to what the Helix had before this 3.5 update or whatever it is. Yeah, I think 3.5 or 3.1. I don't know what it is. Really, with the Helix, the only option you had was you couldn't even do on and off axis with the Helix. You can pull the mic back or forward, but you couldn't do on and off axis, which is kind of weird. But now you can do on and off axis and you can actually move it around the speaker, which is more of like a quad cortex kind of thing. Um, I think I think all these companies are really just learning from each other. It's like, hey, look at quad cortex. Look at what quad cortex can do. That's it's a mouthful, really. And then Helix is like, well, we can do that too. So let's just come out with our update and make it to where you can have all new cabs and move the mic around or whatever else. HeadRush is not to that point, but 2023 is a new year, folks, and I don't know tons, but there may be some cool stuff coming down the pike. So just wait for some cool HeadRush news and reviews coming sometime soon. So, Austin Man is the man here, and I got a HeadRush pedal board recently, and your videos have been super helpful. Happy New Year! So, thanks, Austin, for watching. I'm always happy to help. And um, Oscar Mendez is in the house. And he says, I use a HeadRush through an orange pedal baby with a 4x12 cab at a Christmas metal gig last Friday. Sounded great. Yeah, so that's I have a Supro Delta King 12, which is just a good little tube amp. And what it does have that's really neat is it has a what's it called? A power amp in, which is essentially the same as plugging your HeadRush into the effects return of an amp. Or what Oscar has done here is using a orange pedal baby, which is basically just a power amp, right? That's all you're doing is just using a power amp with the HeadRush as your preamp sounds and all your effects, and then using a physical Marshall 4x12 cab. So, so I'm really finding that if you use really any one of these units, a Fractal, Helix, HeadRush, anything through a power amp and a real cab, then you bypass the IR or cab within your unit, you're gonna get some great sounds. You're gonna get some really good sounds there. So, all right. So going back to my setup here, I have one switch that's set to two different scenes. So this is gonna be clean, and this is going to be lead. And going back to clean. Tune again. All right, so I just got this guitar maybe just a few weeks ago, and I have not really done anything to it. I haven't changed the strings. I haven't done a whole lot to it. So um, when I do change the strings, I'm going to change the way I string up the G and B strings, and also the E string. Pretty much anything that's unwound. That should help with tuning stability on the old Les Paul here. But um, okay. Now, me personally, let me throw in some stuff that I would use on a gig every time. Okay. we're going to use a tremolo. And we're just going to do let's bring in the shape a little bit. Make a manual rate whatever we want. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Okay, we got some tremolo. I like having back to modulation, go into the air filter, go to the dot cock wall, which is just my personal settings. Frequency at about 1K, resonance at 40, fatness at 57, mix at 52, gain 0, mode bypass or band pass. LFO rate is pretty slow. LFO depth. Let me just experiment here. Okay, let's bring the depth down to 50% where it was. So what that does is it sweeps nice and slow. And when I have so it's just like a good auto wall kind of effect. And so we got wall, tube screamer, tremolo, delay reverb. I really wouldn't need much else. Just for a good basic rock setup, right? Now, if I'm playing at church, I like having more delay, more reverb, maybe more of a clean sound with a little bit of dirt, you know. But if I was playing back in Feedback Revival, which is the band I was playing in for many years, uh, that would be my rig. I would not need a lot of stuff. There was one song called Hell and High Water that I use as auto swell type thing, which is why I actually use the Helix, not the Helix, but the DL4 pedal for that recording, long time ago. Foot switch assign. We're gonna have the green JRC, and we're gonna have the tremolo on. So there we go. I have my tap tempo for my delay. I have a JRC, a tremolo, and then I can change my amp from clean to dirty. And Bob's your uncle. I mean, that's a good rock. Now Jason Roller, he likes bringing up his drive on his tube screamer. And that sounds really good. That sounds really good. So then if you add that on with the overdriven amp, I forgot what key I was in just then. That's what I do. All right, cool. Check some comments here. Check some comments. We got Kiyoki in the house. It says aloha. Ooh, look at the muscles. That's what I'm talking about. Wait, this side. That one right there. That one. Look at it. Aloha. I've got my HeadRush pedal board, two 1x2s and 108s, and always sound better than my co-guitarist Axe FM9 in our studio's Kemper. I also have a Mooer G200 for fun. Cool. Very awesome. Yeah, I mean, this AX8 over here, I mean, it sounds good, but the HeadRush is just so much easier to dial in and store sounds and whatever else. So, Doc has been in me achieving great tone with my HeadRush pedal board. Yeah, man. Always glad to help. Always glad to help. Always. Oh. Oscar has a stupid question here. um, so I'm looking at my screen and not here, but just I'm looking at the question. So, is there a way to run a volume pedal and a wall pedal and a whammy in an effect block? No. you will have to bring in your expression and choose volume. Okay, and you can move that around wherever you want, and you will have to bring in a whammy separately under expression, and then bring in your wham. Let's make it like an octave up. Now, a cool thing I like to do with the whammy is pitch. No, I can't do it with that. If it had a mix knob, I can bring down the mix of it, but a wah wah pedal. So you're gonna essentially, you're probably gonna want to make two main rigs, and your first rig might be wall and volume pedal, and then you do a save as or save new rig. See save new rig right there, and you're gonna just save it with a different name. Be like, this is gonna be Oscar Rig 1, and then Oscar Rig 2, and then the Rig 2 might be more whammy prominent and already assigned to your expression pedal. And then you can just go back to your Oscar Rig 1 that has more of the wall and the volume pedal in there. So you're not going to have a way to have, well, let's see here. Expression, external amp. Yeah, so on the gig board, you can only have one expression pedal. But like on the pedal board and the MX5, you can essentially add a second expression pedal. So you could have, well, no, I think you still just have A and B. You can't add like a third iteration in there. Yeah, I think just going back to the rig one having whammy and volume, the rig two having, sorry, rig one having wall and volume, then rig two having maybe whammy and volume, then just bouncing between those two different rigs. That's what I would do for that. That's what I would do for that. Uh, he's trying to use scenes to turn the volume and wall off for different things, but I could not get the whammy to be controlled by the pedal. Yeah, so you have to assign it that way, and you have to go to hardware assign. So you only have two different options. You either have A or you have B, and I can assign my wham to that. See, you can assign it that way, and then on B, you could have um, you could have your volume pedal, right? So A is pitch and B is volume. You can't have a third option in there. It's just not possible. So, just not possible. But maybe one day it will be possible to assign multiple things. But I really don't know any other unit that allows you to do stuff like that. It would be cool. Pastel says you can control several things at the same time in hardware assign. I mean, that is true. That is very true. You can go to hardware assign and say on like advanced, you can click on plus and choose, something else, right? So then you got volume and pitch. And when you move the heel or toe back and forth, you can control the volume and the pitch. But, it may not be the most, it won't be the most elegant way of doing things for sure. So I would just stick with your 2 rig or 2 or 3 rig scenario and just pick and choose what is most important to you at that time. Okay, Christian Aguilar is in the house and have used a big sky pedal with the HeadRush, and if not, would you do a video? Have used a big sky pedal. I have never owned the Strymon big sky pedal myself. I've had the Strymon Flint, which is a reverb and tremolo pedal in one box, but I have not used the Sky reverb. And if I add in, so I got this glare on my screen here. It looks really good on this screen, but over here I just get this glare. See, if I bring in a shimmer, the HeadRush shimmer so far is not really um it's not a Big Sky-esque type sound. Now, that is going before all the amps, so that's why it was so like prominent in the mix. If I put it after the amp, not like bringing the mix of it down pretty low. You can also change the pre-delay so it comes in after the note. And I know what you're thinking. The HeadRush just doesn't do that Big Sky kind of big ethereal type, shimmer verb type thing. But maybe one day it will. Run the Hotone wall into my pedal board. Yeah, that works. That works. Soul press wall, great wall into my board, and use my onboard. A for whammy and harm, and B for volume. Works great. Yeah, that's cool. Sean from Kentucky is in the house. I'm basically building some Ingl Powerball rigs, essentially, and just kind of taking questions about HeadRush and stuff like that. But welcome to the party, Sean. Way more entertaining than watching that crap that Ryan Seacrest has going on TV. Like one act earlier was singing about they know Victoria's Secret. They are created by dudes. I mean, I know it's all about body confirming and loving your body, whether you're skinny or fat or whatever else. And I mean, Victoria's Secret probably was created by some guy. I was like, hey, who doesn't want to see half naked women showing off, underwear and stuff? But I'm not interested in those kind of musical acts that um, are just dumb. I'd rather be playing guitar, man. I'd rather be playing guitar. All right, so that's a shimmer sound. Go back to my lead sound here. All right, cool. Uh, I'm not too worried about. I'm actually going to open up some mixbus here. I'm going to bring in. I've tried this a few times before. Let's see. I'm going to bring in 8.2 is awesome. Just make a new session. And I am 48K, so we'll make this a 48K session here. I'm just going to get a little drum loop going so I can do some playing. And let's see what I got. I got Apple Loops, free sound. Let's download. Okay, that's going to bring in my loop download manager, which is kind of neat. Don't really remember what I have. Let's see if I can install this in a reasonable amount of time. Yeah, it's going to install pretty fast. Okay, it's installed. And let's close this window here. Clip library. All right, hopefully you're all that. That's 136 beats per minute. So let's change the tempo of this session. So that way it doesn't stretch too far. All right, this is in the key of A minor. And we're going to add a cue marker A to the timeline. And we're just going to jam over it. So let's check this out. All right, that should be a fairly decent mix. Single amp. The tube screamer. All right, now put the tuner on here. I'm gonna add a little kick drum to this beat so I can kind of I can keep up with it. May not be the best beat here, so I'm using Mixbus 32C. I can't remember if I have. I am in the DAW. Wow, look at that, cool. So I actually work for Harrison Consoles, and this is Mixbus, which is a recording software. And this year um, we have added Ableton Live style, uh, loops and clips and stuff like that. So I'm actually gonna go just see what ambient kick. No, don't want that. I think it's 50s rock. So let's that. See what that does here. Let's go back. That's fine. Cool. That's a good lead sound there. So now I've said before that the orange or the tangerine channel 1 and 2, which is based off of the 8030 amplifiers. Wow. Should have got that water a long time ago. But those are great amps to just have a good clean and dirty sound. But these Ingl Powerball sounds nice as well. I'm definitely gonna be changing my strings this week on the old Les Paul and doing a different tuning or a string, restringing method here. Um, see if I bend the strings, they start getting out of tune a little bit. But okay, Doc, I don't think I've ever seen you with this Les Paul. Well, that's because I've recently got the Les Paul. It's a recent it's a recent purchase. This is actually a 2012 traditional, which means I worked at Gibson during that era. And I always worked in the ref mill, started out on the neck side and then eventually moved over to the body side in the later half of my Gibson career. So with it being a 2012, I worked there from 2005 to 2014, and that basically means I had a literal hand in building this guitar. I could have either shaped the neck, or cut the wood for the body, or I could have glued this top. Uh, More than likely, I probably just cut the wood because I worked on the chop saw the last few years of working in the rough mill, and I would bring in all the wood from unloading the trucks, and then I would take the maple and mahogany wood, like long 8 to 15 foot long boards, run them through the planer. They would fall on the chains on the other side of the planer, and then I would push a button and progress the wood, closer to me, and then would check the wood for moisture with a moisture meter, and then I would check for knots and just cracks in the wood and make sure I mark those so I can cut them out and try to cut the cleanest pieces of mahogany and maple that I could, so that way they could end up beautiful like this. So this is a two-piece back, which you can see by the line going all the way through the middle here. More of the higher end Gibsons have a one-piece back, which means they were cut. They were just one piece of wood. They weren't two pieces glued together. Um, but pretty much all maple tops are two piece. They're actually cut from the same piece of wood. What they would do is take a pretty thick piece of maple and then run it through a resaw machine, and that would take the one piece and cut it in half. Then they would take those now two pieces and then book match it, and then glue those together, and that's what makes the very seamless grain of the wood like that. So Kyoki, yeah, it is very beautiful. Yeah, it's so far it's all stock. Actually, it's no. The guy before me, he switched out the bridge piece with something else. But he still has the original bridge piece in the case, so I could switch that back if I wanted to. But I'm just leaving it as is for now. Just for now. I'm actually gonna do a I'm gonna do an official video on this guitar and kind of my history with working uh, at Gibson Guitars here in Nashville. It is a really cool place to work. Um, Despite all the stories and horror stories that you hear online about Gibson is horrible or whatever else, it's like there's actually a great group of guys and gals that work at Gibson Guitars here in Nashville, and a lot of great work and hard work goes into making these instruments. So it's very easy to dog companies, but when you're in the inside, actually working for the company, um, you can take pride in knowing that you're making a very sought after, very beautiful, legendary instrument, uh, despite um, despite what's the word? Popular opinion. There you go. But Gibson is known for having tuning issues, and that's because of the headstock break. It's like a 15, 17-degree headstock break. But Robert Baker on YouTube said if you actually take your unwound strings and instead of starting from the bottom and wind up, he actually says start from the um. Well, sorry, it's reverse. Normally, you start from the top and wind down, and that creates that hard break across the nut. But if you actually start from the bottom and wind your string up, that will de-accentuate. That's a weird word, but they'll take away from that break angle across the nut and not make it as drastic, and it should stay in tune a lot better, like way a lot better. So that'll be the goal of kind of telling that story, and also how I change the strings to help with that tuning issue. I hope it works. Woo! I'm telling you, that is a great clean sound right there. Then you got the overdrive. that is just really nice. I'm going to take out the volume pedal, take out the wham. I don't want all that stuff in there. Let's go to my overdrive amp. Let's take out some bass. This is a concept I want you to think about is the more gain you have on your amp, the less bass you need. I've been saying this for years. It's just a good rule of thumb. Because if I turn the bass up, it's going to start getting really flubby on the low end there. Especially if you're using those 108 speakers. It can tend to be a little flubby, so you can also turn the bottom off. I know this is really hard for a lot of people to do, but if you can dial in your sound with a backing track or at band practice or something, because the sound you create by yourself is going to sound totally different when you get into a full band scenario. So if you can cut out some of that bass and maybe not have as much high end on your sound, 'cause that's kind of where the cymbals live anyway in the vocals. The more refined and confined you can have your guitar sound, it's going to sound better in a full band mix. That's just from it's just uh common ways of dialing in a guitar sound that help it fit in a mix better. So now with your clean sound, I would say it's okay to be a little bright and be a little bottom heavy. I'm actually going to take this one step farther here. Um, let's bring in a chorus. Actually, no, I'm going to bring in a D tune. Okay, check this out. I'm going to bring in a D tune. And we're just going to do slightly delayed. And then we can bring down the mix of that D tune. So it just sounds very chorusy, but it's not really a chorus. So it kind of takes your clean sound and just kind of widens it out a little bit. Okay, so the detune 1 is down 15%, and the other detune is up 15. But I'm actually going to make it a little less drastic. Let's see. Bring the mix up a little bit. Okay. Now, let's say we're going for more of that 80s metal type sound, right? So we got really chorusy cleans, but like really tight, punchy, overdrive stuff. So going back to my hardware sign, and on my scene 1, I'm going to have this be the detune be on, and everything else is going to be no change. And then on the overdrive, the detune is going to be off, and everything else can be no change. So we're going to save that. So now we have, you can see the detune is on for the clean, and the detune is off for the uh, heavy. So here's my clean sound now. Pastel. I am currently I'm not struggling, but I'm messing with my internet signal a little bit. I had 1 gig speed through AT&T at $50 a month, and then my year ran out and it was going to go up. So I was like, well, I want to keep the same price but just lower my speed. And I think that's possibly what is going on. But I am going to bump it back up to 1 gigabyte per second or something like that, and just pay a little bit more because it does need to. I want to have good quality audio and video during my live streams, and it'll be worth it to pay that little extra money. So if you're hearing weirdness with the audio, that's probably what it is. But I should be having. I am connected to my Doctor McFarland Studios Wi-Fi right now. Um, so I don't know if it sounds weird. I'm sorry. But all the more reason to pay for the HTS rigs course on my website. You can download these rigs uh, for that price and get all past, present, and future rigs. And no more. You don't have to pay anything else. Just that one time payment. And I'd rather you do that than send super chats or anything else like that because when you send a super chat to somebody, they actually don't get a lot of that money. It goes back to YouTube pretty much. So if you want to support me and what I do, go to my website and buy a course, whether it's a HeadRush or if you want to learn about music theory or recording. And I have some other courses being prepared as we speak. Um, that will be available in the new year as well. So definitely check out the website. Check out the links in the description. Uh, if you want to buy a Doctor McFarland IR pack from Sonic DNA, that'd be great. You can also buy T-shirts and tons of ways to support the channel. So now that detune is not quite enough. I want it to be more drastic. So it's not tons. It's not tons of detune. Let's make it a little bit more drastic. So and then back to my overdrive. Let's figure out one more kind of loop I can play over here. And let's go to my clip library. See what this thing does here. Uh, okay, let's go back before my AQ marker and let's start that playing. And I don't like my kick. So let's delete that. Let's go back to my bundled content. Drums. I know there's a 4 on the floor kick somewhere. That's not it. Yeah, that's all right, let's try this now. And after this, we'll be closing up shop and hanging out with the wife here. But just wanted to go live tonight and say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Let's build some fun HeadRush rigs and this start off this new year healthy and productive, and whatever your goals are for this year, I hope you um, write them down. Make sure you're sticking with everything, and we'll all be having some fun here. So why is this kick drum so weird? It needs to be. Let's check something here. Again, stretch. Let's make sure this is stretching. Let's make sure. There's 4 on the floor. And we should be good. Let's try this one more time. Nah, I can't do that. I can't do that clip. It's just not going to work for me. I'm trying to find something to play over real fast. Just real fast. That work. Bring it back to 120. Do something like that. So now let's check this out. This would be kind of neat. Maybe. I don't know why my the music was kind of glitching a little bit. Why? Why is it doing it? Why is it doing it? Why? Let's try to do a looper. Okay, shall we? This is gonna be hard. Hold on. This is gonna be hard. I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna put my foot. Oh, man. All right, here we go. I can try. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, here we go. There you go. Hold down looper and stop. Great. That sounded cool. So that is an excellent clean sound with the all right, so stay on the lookout for these rigs coming up on the website probably tomorrow afternoon sometime. I won't fool with it tonight, but if you want to get these rigs and all the previous rigs and all future rigs that I build during these HeadRush live streams, go to the Doctor McFarland website, which is links in the description down below. And you'll see there's a few different options for HeadRush. You got a bundle, which gets you the HTS rigs, the HeadRush tone sculpting course, and the tonal analysis course, which will be coming up very, very soon. So you can get that as a bundle, or you can just buy the HTS rigs just to download whatever rigs I get during this, I build during these streams, or the HeadRush tone sculpting course, which is me going through every single amp, cab, microphone, effect that is in all the HeadRush updates, and I kind of give you the behind the scenes of what the effect is, how I would use them in a rig, and just kind of teach you how to build rigs from scratch in a sensible way. So if you want to support the channel, check out the HeadRush courses on my website. And uh, I had fun, guys. So thank you so much for hanging out. We had a lot of people uh, chiming in and saying hi. We had about 14, 15 viewers at one time, which is about the highest I think we've had. Happy New Year, Oscar. And sounds like you have a noise gate clamping on the lower volume stuff. I have no idea. I have no idea. It might be the expander on my microphone or something, maybe. And I don't know. Everything sounded good in my ears. So if you sound something different, if you hear something different, then I'm sorry. Always glad to help. Kiyoki. And John Lance is in the house. Happy New Year. So we're in I'm in Central Time here in Murfreesboro, just south of Nashville. And the new year will be here in about an hour and 15 minutes. So keep playing guitar if you want to. Go watch all the stupid stuff on the TV. I think it's not all stupid, but it just wasn't interesting to me at all. I'd rather be playing guitar than anything. Stay tuned for a plethora, a entourage of videos coming out in the coming weeks and months. Really, I got good stuff coming out this year on all kinds of products, all kinds of video ideas I have on my phone that I've kept up. Every time I get a new idea, I just write it. I just put it in my notes app on my phone. So got a lot of great ideas. And if you have any suggestions of things that you want to see on the channel, you can use the chat feature on my website and send me a private message and just send me whatever ideas or suggestions that you have for things in the HeadRush course or just videos you want to see me touch on here on the channel. And I will gladly take suggestions and try to incorporate those into future releases. So thanks, guys, for watching. I am Dr. McFarland. I'll see you in the next video. Keep rocking.